Hey, Freedom Fighters, welcome to CBD 101. This is a series of educational videos to help you get familiar with cannabis and hemp CBD. In this inaugural video, I'm going to discuss the history of cannabis use therapeutically dating back thousands of years. Okay, so this is really important, not for fabric or rope or to feed livestock, etc., not for utilitarian purposes, but it's used therapeutically through the ages. Now, this is important because it's thought to be a new phenomenon. Like the use, we're thought to be just discovering what's going on therapeutically with cannabis and CBD, but you'll learn through this video, and this is one of the most important things for you to understand, is that we are literally rediscovering and recreating the history of cannabis because it was buried or erased from history. It was buried or erased from history. And then along those lines, the therapeutic uses were buried and erased, and the plant itself has been demonized for financial and political gains. So it's really interesting, and it actually ties into the predicament we're in today. So today is December 6th, 2020, and the Rona's going on, lockdowns, all this kind of stuff, and so it ties in directly with that. Okay, my name is Alma Renton. I'm the CEO. I'm the product developer from MOVIDA. We are pioneers in the industry. And just as a reminder, this video series is sponsored by MOVIDA, and you can get 20% off at movidaoils.com. You can use the code MOV20 at checkout. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you, and we'll get right into the presentation. It's really, really interesting, and I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, so dating back, we're going to go over here into this slide, and dating back into like 5,000 to 3,000 BC, basically, for China, depending on what sources you go to. 5,000 to 3,000 BC in China, cannabis was being used therapeutically in Chinese medicine. Around 2000-ish BC, depending on the sources you go to, it was being used in India. So it made its way over the Himalayas into India and was used in Ayurveda. Like, it was actually written into the Ayurvedic books. And today it's not in there. So it was like literally erased, right? But it was used, thousands of years BC, and then around 1500 AD down here, it finally made its way to Europe, right? And things like homeopathy, etc., were coming out about that time, and cannabis therapy was right alongside it. It may not have been part of it, but it was right alongside it, and there was huge success with it. And then if you fast forward over to 1750-ish, then it was being used therapeutically by doctors, and in the United States, right? So if you rewind a little bit to the 1600s when we were colonized, then the English colonies, the farmers were actually required to grow hemp, but that was more for utilitarian, like for rope, etc. I'm talking about the therapeutic uses, and by 1750, it was widely used amongst practitioners in the United States for a number of therapeutic benefits. Okay, so around 1800s, other things started emerging, and making their way from Europe or emerging in the United States itself, things like chiropractic, etc. And also along those times in the 1840s, the AMA was the American Medical Association. It was established in the mid 1840s, and vaccines, and pharmaceutical industry were almost simultaneously created in the mid 1840s. So this was not good for cannabis and the other holistic modalities that were out there, right? Because it wasn't good for the AMA. The AMA, and Big Pharma were created by the elite, so they had to vilify every other kind of therapy out there. And that's why, today you see, chiropractic and all the other forms of therapies, even Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, that have been used for thousands of years, they're just made to look silly. So it's like a gaslighting. And so this gaslighting that you're seeing now with the Rona and all those other things going on, it's not a new phenomenon. It's been used throughout history. and even in throughout all of the of the history of the United States. Okay, so you fast forward into the early 1900s, and like the early 1900s, right around 1910, there was really demonizing the cannabis. And believe it or not, California was the first state to make cannabis illegal. We're known, I'm from California, and we're known for, being, advocates, for marijuana, cannabis, etc. But we were actually the first state to make it illegal, and it was done for like racial and financial reasons. Okay, racial reasons and financial reasons. So, for fast forward from there, and it was super vilified. Things like reefer madness and all these things. Through the 1920s and 1930s, and it culminated in 1937 with this Marijuana Tax Act, right? And there was like 42 doctors, like high-level doctors that were respected by the U.S. government, and they were asked as a panel, should we make marijuana illegal? Should we make it illegal? And literally 37 or 38 out of the 42 said no. There's too much benefit to marijuana therapeutically. Like there's benefit therapeutically, and there's no side effects. We need to keep it. We should not make it illegal. And what did they do? They made it illegal, right? And that's because of the Rockefellers, big pharma, et cetera, that their financial interests. And so it just vilified hardcore. The benefits of it, like we said, have been erased. Through history. Taken out everywhere, all over the world. This was a worldwide event, not just in the United States. It happened in Europe. Great Britain. In India, like everything. It was removed from Ayurveda, etc. So this is a big deal. This thing in 1937, it was a simultaneous event, just worldwide event, just like this Rona thing is a simultaneous worldwide event now. Okay, so understand that this is a big deal. So you go through from the 1930s into the 1990s, and the marijuana was just vilified and just thought of as disgusting, basically. And you go into the 1990s, and even the 1980s and the early 1990s, the Reagan and Bush eras, and you have the war on drugs, and that was really crazy, where you had like DEA military style raids going on in Humboldt. Remember, I'm from California, and I've been involved with cannabis financially and professionally since 1987. So I lived through this, and they would literally drop down with automatic weapons from helicopters, and just for cannabis, for these farmers, and it was craziness back then. And in 1992, that sort of changed because of Bill Clinton. And what happened was, for that campaign for his presidency, there was I smoked, but I didn't inhale, right? I smoked, but I didn't inhale. So he was the first president, basically, to admit that he smoked marijuana, and that I know of, and it made marijuana cool again, right? And everybody started, like, a bunch of people, it started becoming in vogue. Remember, I lived through this, and I sold it through this time, so I know for a fact that it became in vogue. And that was a big a wrench in the spokes, sort of, for the global elites, that happening, because it made a way for cannabis to become legal, and CBD federal to become legal nowadays. That one thing in 1992, so thank you, Bill Clinton, for that, right? In 1996, the Compassionate Use Act was passed in California, right? That was a pretty big deal, and I remember that as soon as that thing was passed, I found a doctor to give me the recommendation to where I could smoke marijuana and have it in my possession, extract it, whatever, illegally in California and not get arrested for it. And there was a doctor named Dr. Eidelman, okay, pioneer. Remember that name, Dr. Eidelman. He's a pioneer in cannabis, and its legalities. Like, he put his license on the line. He had a thriving practice before 1996, before the Compassionate Use Act. And when it came into effect, the feds said, hey, we're going to bust people for this, and the AMA said, we're going to revoke licenses, for doctors that give out these, recommendations and all this. And he said, screw you guys, right? And he did it. The feds raided, the FBI raided his place several times. The AMA, put his license suspended, and he got it back and fought for it several times. And he went from thriving practice to just himself in his office. I go in there and it was just him. Like, all his staff left, they were scared of the feds, and he fought. And I respected him for that. And that's what actually set me on course, as marijuana and, for the glaucoma, but remember, I have glaucoma and I depend on, MOVIDA, CBD, the full spectrum, et cetera, to see, right? And that's what set me on the course back then, is that man. And, you fast forward through, and go to the 2012, and legal dispensaries come into vogue, right? They come into play here in California, and it set this tone for these cannabis caregiver societies that, to start popping up, like people coming together, and these wellness professionals, like a very few of them, but they came together like, hey man, there's some benefit to these, to the marijuana, and they're trying all these different ways to use it, like they're just smoking it, to, putting it in brownies, and making hash and using it that way. Like, there's just all these different ways to use it to try to discover the benefits. Because remember, it's been erased from history, right? Like not only what it's good for, but how they made it to be good for it, right? Because like for me with my glaucoma, just smoking it doesn't work, right? So, searched and searched and searched, and finally myself in 2013, I discovered what worked, for my conditions, and to help people with other things, that, was just amazing, and shortly after that, MOVIDA was established, and just started doing case studies on people and working with other, cannabis caregiver practitioners and helping them out with their people along the way. And it's just been an amazing experience, of discovery and helping people, and just seeing the amazing benefits that plants, and cannabis in particular, and CBD, in particular, have to offer to people, because we have this endocannabinoid system that needs to be fed, right? And, you cannot operate at the utmost optimal levels without this, it provides balance in our body, and it's necessary, right? So, so we've been fighting for this and fighting for this forever, and we've had success, marginal success along the way, and we keep on fighting the good fight. And then, you fast forward to, 2019, and the federal hemp bill was passed. It was actually, some people will say, okay, 2018, but it was actually passed in December, actually on my birthday, December 26, 2018. It was passed and put into effect in 2019. And that was paved the way for all these CBD companies to come, around, and, nationally being able to, distribute it out. And I actually converted from a cannabis company to a hemp company, so I could be able to provide, our products nationally, in almost every state, et cetera. And, we're involved with, today with regulation and compliance, and also, teaching people the benefits, other practitioners, and then also helping the public to understand the benefits of cannabis and CBD through educational videos such as this. So that's pretty much it for the history of CBD and cannabis as it's used therapeutically. I'm making another video in the future with a big history that shows everything. But I just wanted to get this out to you so you guys could understand that it has been used for thousands of years, therapeutically. It's not nothing new. It's nothing that you have to be scared of. Okay, there's only benefits, and there's no like really side effects that I have seen ever since 1987, right? And it's 2020 now, right? So if you enjoy this video, be sure to check out the rest of the series on our YouTube and on our on our website at movidaoils.com. And remember, at youtube.com/Movida Oils is our CBD and cannabis channel. We have another health and wellness channel and health freedom, etc. at youtube.com/MyFitLife. And again, you get 20% off at movidaoils.com. Use code MOV20. And this is Al Morenton with Movida. Thank you and have a beautiful day. Peace.